Grab your beverages and turn up your interweb. Solving the world's problems 12 ounces at a time. It's Dudes and Beer.
Well, hello everybody, and welcome to episode 184 of the awesomely awesome Dudes and Beer podcast. I am Chris Jordan, your host, coming to you live tonight from Rosemont, Illinois. Fabulous Rosemont, in the shadow of the Rosemont Convention Center and Morton's Steak. That's pretty much all I got up around me right here is Morton's Steakhouse and the Convention Center, folks. I'd post some cool pictures like I do from Vegas, but there ain't much to see in Rosemont, at least not that I've seen yet. So tonight on the show, I thought it was apropos for us to do a follow-up episode to our episode last week about Judge Kavanaugh and the things going on. So I've invited back our good friend Michael Devine, therapist, author, and soon-to-be host of Gray Matters here on the HC Universal Network, Gray Matters Radio. Welcome to the show, Michael. How are you doing?
Doing good. I think we owed it to ourselves to continue that conversation.
We did.
Week.
It was, like as we ended, both of us were like, dude, we could have gone so much longer on that. And then what was funny, though, was the stuff that came out afterward. I mean, we may as well just been sending like slam dunk gifs to each other because it was almost like we called it. It was like, oh my God, like look at what's happening and look at what is about to happen. And sure enough, just to go through some of the news of the week, most of it that I posted was about fallout from that. But a couple of the articles that I posted, one of them from Axios, I saw that you actually reposted on the Gray Matters Radio group on Facebook. Please feel free to go join the Gray Matters Radio group, folks. It's going to be a great place for discussion, great place to see a lot of this stuff. But the article from Axios was America the Radicalized, talking about how this Kavanaugh fight that happened really brought to light a lot of if you think that our last election cycle brought to light some of the bare nerves in this country, the Kavanaugh election really brought a lot of it to bear. And then on top of that was back-to-back an article out of Politico showing how the senators voted, and it was pretty well straight down the line. There was one Democrat that voted yes, one Republican that voted no. The final votes for 51 yay, 49 nay amongst them. And it was just about red and blue as you went down. And it really, really speaks to what we were saying last time, the utter polarization of what is going on in our nation right now. Now, to pick some of that up, where did you come down with everything, Michael? Where did you come down with the election?
Yeah, here's what's interesting. I think as a clinician, I think it kind of gives me that unique ability to try to really look at things from both perspectives. I mean, it's kind of almost like how we're trained to kind of do it, and I think with this one. It really was almost a perfect example of how I have the ability to do that because I can sit there and go, hey, I think this girl was telling the truth. Now, what all that truth was, I mean, who knows? But she was definitely telling the truth. And I think, to me, what the most egregious kind of thing was that the way I think the Democratic Party totally set her up.
Yes.
They chose to drop this bomb at the most at the time where basically it was going to have the most carnage basically for this. I mean, their main goal was to derail this entire process. I mean, it's almost kind of like Bush League. I mean, they really had no play for this. They got totally outnumbered on it. And the only thing they had was this. And so they take this girl that basically went and said, hey, listen, the second I knew this guy was being nominated, I wanted to say this, even though she was on the fence with it. And then they sat on it for 45 days and then dropped it at the last second, which took away her credibility.
Yeah.
Because that hyperpolarization that we have now,
Yeah.
they lumped her into it. You heard it on the conservative news where she had liberal donor lawyers and they hid onto this. And so they villainized her. They dehumanized her in the process because they put her in the same boat. And it was just a damn shame. And then
Well,
on Kavanaugh's side, Kavanaugh, I mean, we might get a lot of emails on this one, but Kavanaugh, I kind of felt for because he was in a lose-lose scenario. Because here's the deal. They put him in a position. Let's say he were honest and go, listen, something may have happened. I don't know if it happened or not. I'm so sorry if something did, or if I was in that time of my life where things were messed up. He would have been human. He would have connected to people. It would have shown, some sorrow. But then he would have been sued. He would have lost the nomination, potentially, depending on the statute of limitations. He could have gone to jail. So he told the truth. He was fucked, basically.
Yeah.
He lied. It made it look like partisan politics and dehumanized this poor girl.
Yeah.
These two people were pawns by both sides, and that's honestly how I really feel about it.
Yeah, yeah, and same here. And I was telling my wife that outside, and it was one of those like, and I brought it up in the last episode, talking about, of course, the rape allegations made against Bill Clinton, where once she did actually come out and say, yes, this happened, it was far too late. Nothing could actively be done, and it was one of those like, oh my God, this is here. Like this is in front of our face. The FBI said it was fully credible. They'd investigated it, all kinds of stuff. And here we are again in the same kind of situation. And it's crazy how much more polarized we are. And it's not a president. And granted, I'll be the first one to say, yeah, we should make more of a hubbub about Supreme Court justice than a president. A president is a pure figurehead. Go look it up, folks. He has like 10 jobs, and not a one of them can be done without the okay of Congress. He can throw some baller parties, which we saw our last president do like monthly before he left office. Like he was having parties. That's the only thing he can do is greet foreign dignitaries and have parties. He can
Epic
go
ragers. Epic.
Yeah, like crazy ragers. To oblivion. You could have one every week through your whole presidency. Whatever.
Yeah.
He can go make treaties as long as Congress says, hey, go make a treaty. So like the president is really a figurehead, whereas the Supreme Court is the supreme law of the land. They are the ones that interpret the Constitution as it stands. They are the ones that decide which laws actively get passed, which ones are okay to bring up, all that kind of stuff. So I can definitely see where the consternation and the concern would absolutely be there. And there was a very interesting article this last week talking about how there was a wave of women that came to Kavanaugh's support because what they saw in the mirror was, what would happen if this was my son? What would happen if this was my husband? That somebody was making these allegations 30 years down the line.
It's like, well, that's where I'm kind of curious because I have a 4-year-old little girl. You have a little boy, and I'm kind of curious. Like, as a dad, does that resonate at all, kind of with you?
Yeah. Oh, most definitely. Not just as a dad, but as someone who taught sex and sexuality to junior high students. And that difference in trying to make people understand, like, hey, just because your body has these urges doesn't mean you need to act on these urges. Just because your brain says, hey, look at that pretty girl in the short skirt, doesn't mean you have to, like, compliment the lady in the short skirt out loud. You know what I mean? And it's really learning to keep some of that in check. And that's not discounting the fact that we are not animal, that men can't think, that men can't stop themselves. Women have the same situation. There was a great article that I posted the other day that my wife and I got into a great conversation about, talking about how the women's live movement and the opening of sexuality to women has almost derailed. And it's almost gotten to a point where it is just about counterproductive. in some aspects. And this was a pretty big feminist that was writing the article like, hey ladies, we need to rein ourselves in. Maybe some of this has gone a little bit too far. And that I mean, we're kind of straying away from the victimization of people, things like that. But you asked me where I fall as a father, and I really think that it is a concern on any side of the fence. Mainly due to the fact of you're now bringing into question our judicial system. You're now bringing into question innocent until proven guilty. There's a lot to be said about that, and I'm not dismissing the fact that Kavanaugh may have done something. There was this situation. Good God, I mean, I know a lot of people that are thinking about running for office that I need to get rid of some college pictures of. You know what I mean?
It's hilarious because me and my friends have always talked about that because
Yeah.
among my friends they all know I want to try to go into politics one day, and they're like, dude, man, we got negatives.
We got dope on you, bro. Yeah,
Dude,
like
you
remember when negatives existed? It's not like magnetically wiping a hard drive. Those things are there, and they can make prints all day long.
you actually want to hear a funny story? So
Go ahead.
there's so we were in college, right? So all right, we threw some really good parties and everything, and so there was one particular night where there was we hung out with a big group of people, and there was a particular girl that we all hung out with, and she was fun, all right? And so there was a picture of her. Topless photo, okay? And
Sure.
so we somehow, because back in the day, remember if there was like a nude photo, then Photomat wouldn't,
Oh yeah, no, they would.
you know.
Yeah,
So
no,
they actually
they
did
would
it,
just
right?
leave the
So-
negative there.
Yeah, so like now they actually made that, they printed it up, right? And so now it became this joke, and so she's like, all right, guys, come on. So we literally got rid of all the doubles and triples of it, right? And we're like, all right, it's all done. And she was like, thank you guys, I appreciate it, right? A year and a half later, right? We're going through old photos, reminiscing, right? And sure as shit, there is a photo of so that photo is on the table with a bunch of beers around it, and there's a photo of the photo basically that is still there. So even and so that was the worst thing that we had to deal with, a photo of the photo that was inadvertent.
Oh yeah, and I've said it numerous times. I've probably said it about every third or fourth episode of this podcast since the beginning. If the internet existed today, back when I was in high school, I would be on watch lists.
Oh yeah, for sure.
It's just that simple. I already am, quite obviously. Otherwise, the Department of Defense and CIA would not be cruising my LinkedIn profile.
I know, man. That worries me because now it's like guilt by association. I'm like sitting there going, man, I should have rethought this whole deal with you, man. Like, now they're going to be looking at me.
But that's the question, and that's what we have to worry about is the guilt by association complex. I mean, you heard it the whole time growing up as a kid, I'm sure. I know I heard it, like, be careful who you run with.
Yeah.
And it's just the fact of whether you want it to be that way or not, you will be associated with them. You will be associated with their actions. So what do you, like, even as a parent, how do you deal with that? Like, you're a few years into it past me. I saw parents deal with it when I was in, counseling junior high kids, working with high schoolers, even college age people and older. It's still one of those, like, how do you keep that from happening? And it's literally a mentality that you have to have, like you said earlier, learning to see things and weigh things from both sides, learning to be empathetic and to be able to feel somebody's situation, to be able to walk in their shoes, let's say, for a minute.
Yeah, well, I think that the problem is, and like sometimes I get kind of blunt, with parents. I almost kind of have to, and I think
You do.
somewhere along the lines we were so scared of our kids screwing up, basically, and them getting hurt, them getting in trouble, especially nowadays because
God, yeah.
the digital age. I mean, this generation, if they say something, they're never going to live it down. And the problem is, then they come to the rescue all the time. They go, well, don't do this, and then the kids get angry. Because intrinsically, some part of them wants to kind of screw up and learn on their own, and then the parents, and to the rescue, then like, well, no, you can't have that happen, and then it's like this tug and pull of, well, I want to protect them, but then it's like the kids are fighting at every stretch, and that's where a part of me is kind of like, and it's easy for me. I mean, my daughter's only 4, right?
Sure.
You know, it's gonna be, if we have this conversation 10 years from now, I'm gonna
you're
be like,
winning the battle
right.
right now.
Exactly, yeah. 10 years from now, it's gonna be like, fuck that. She ain't going to that party. But it really is like one of those. It's like, come on, like, you know what? Let the kids screw up. You know, well, what if this happens? Well, then it happens, and guess what? They're never ever going to do that again. Well, and then I think, it's
you can't put a mountain in the path just to make sure they don't like take the wrong path, because then you're gonna have to move a mountain later, and good luck with that. You know.
Yeah. Well, I think it might be even a little bit different now because of social media, because what I see happening a lot, especially a lot of like the private schools, I think can get away with this a lot more. I know in Texas they could really get away with it. Now that I moved back to Ohio, it's a little bit different. But literally, so the teachers, like there's one school I worked a lot with where this principal would get emails or notes from so-and-so was hanging out with so-and-so doing this. And then that kid would, then every kid that was associated with that then got brought in basically to it. And then so it's kind of like, well, be careful who you hang out with. But now with the online world, you don't know who's seeing it. I mean, hell, you have Ivy League schools asking for, hey, I want to see your Instagram. I want to see your Facebook. And what do you have on there? There is some legitimacy too. You got to be careful who you associate with and what are people going to think about you.
Yeah, well, and you know, even taking it a step further, you got to be careful what you're browsing. You got to be careful what you're looking at, what articles you're reading. I mean, that background check can go way far and way far back, and that's something that we're dealing with now. You know, there was a meme that came out a couple years ago that was like your grandma's selfie. You know, your kid's grandma's selfie.
Yeah.
You know, and it was like a girl at friggin' Mardi Gras with like her shirt up, you know, stuff like that. And yeah, once that's online, you know, there's nothing you can do about that. And go ahead.
Even I was thinking, think about with teenagers, like think about how dumb we are. Stuff that we did because we were kids, right? Think about think about the whole Kavanaugh thing. The kid was in high school, right?
Yeah.
But think about like, oh God, was it SMU kid? The kids were there on the bus saying the racist thing. Then they all got booted out of school, and then there was another set. And so think about it. Forever and ever, anytime someone goes to look them up on the internet, they will always be known as a kid singing the racist song on the school bus. It could be 30 years from now. That kid will always be known for that.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's just it. Like, at what point did we – because if this is the case, everybody, I'm here to tell you, there is no more parole. You go to prison, you're in prison because apparently you can never become a better person. You can never change your ways, ever. That's the judgment that we just got done making if you're going to go to the extreme and polarized with it. I'll join the fray of polarization and say, screw it. We're all a bunch of fuck-ups, and whatever we do, we can never, ever fix. Because quite obviously that's how society sees it.
Well, that's where polarization is really scary, because it could be something like, think about like one thing is radical to the other side. It can be like, you know, fuck straws, fuck them in the face, save the environment. And then the other side's going to sit there and go, what, you don't give it like, what, you know, fuck the plastic manufacturers, fuck the working man. Oh yeah, great. Like you're an asshole, dick. I mean, it's
I'm a plastic extruder for a living.
Exactly. It's like, well, I actually make like I lost my job. Like shit, my bad. Like, but that's where we're at. That's the polarization of where we're at right now. Is I love cats. Fuck cats. Fuck them in the face. You know, they're gonna lick you and your arm's gonna fall off. Like God, you cannot win. You can't.
Yeah, cats cause miscarriages. Get rid of them.
They'll steal your breath.
They're gonna steal your breath while you're asleep. And that's almost what it is. It's like,
oh, I wish I was kidding, but it's like,
I know, and it just it blows my mind because I see educated friends, I see friends that have letters behind their name that full on fall into both categories of extreme on both sides of it, and cannot see the logic of things, where we're saying, hey, this calls the whole justice system into question if this is the case. And also being able to say, you know, we need to listen to victims, and we always need to listen to victims. You know, and you can be on both sides. You can understand both sides of this, people. You do not have to choose a side. Believe it or not, it's better for you not to choose a side because you're not directly involved in it.
That's like, so what you said, I think, is so. It's like it's kind of like it's common sense, but it's like
You're emotionally
it's almost like
tying yourself to something.
it's like people don't realize, like, no, you do have a choice. Like, it's funny because me being like really centrist, and my friends probably hate me right now because I think
Same
like
here. My wife was very
debate,
concerned about me doing this episode, and I was like, I have to. This is the show that has hard conversations.
and we need to, and we have to model that because it's like I keep using my friends as the guinea pig. They're like, oh, Devine and his damn show, right?
Yeah, right.
And I was like, well, God, and so, but the thing is, it's like I feel like being a clinician and my friends knowing that I'm in the middle, I do have that ability. But then there's even those times where you can tell people are so primed where'd you get that liberal news? It's like, dude, I don't even watch CNN. Like, where do you even get that? Like, and but we do have a choice. And for somewhere along the line, if somewhere along the line, it's like we forgot that just because people are forcing us to go in this box, it's either this or it's that. And it's like, well, no, like I see 5 other flavors behind that. I don't have to go chocolate or vanilla. And that's what I think we have to get back to. And I think that's why it's so important for us.
Can I have a swirl?
You can have anything you want.
This
just
is America.
As long as it's not vanilla or chocolate, because fuck that. It's communist. Like, that's that
Technically,
communist
that's
vanilla,
the strawberry, the pinko flavor.
But it's
the middle of the Neapolitan. It's communist.
It's like, there was a Simpsons episode where it was a Halloween special where it was Bob Dole and Clinton were debating. And then all of a sudden they reveal themselves to be the 2 aliens. And they're like, oh my God, what are we going to do? And he's like, it's a 2-party system. You have to vote for both one of us.
Choice.
It's no, guys, we do.
Go ahead, throw your votes away. Yeah, exactly. It's the fact of there is a choice. There is an option. You don't have to circle the drain emotionally. And I saw it really start creeping in during the last election. And it was one of those things like where I would see like letters that came home to parents about the election in like kindergarten. And it's like, no offense, but who the fuck is talking politics with their kindergartner? I'm not going to talk politics with my kindergartner. That's something like you don't need to worry about that, son. You let dad and mom worry about that right now. You got about 15 years of life to enjoy before things get squashed by politics in your world.
It's almost like indoctrination. I mean, kids see the world very black and white, good and evil, right? And it's almost like they almost start picking up on that. It's really interesting that there was this really cool research study where it was like an accident kind of. They were trying to do some research and the data did not support anything. So they're like, well, crap, what do I do? And they took this demographic data and they looked at libertarian beliefs, more particularly the belief that poor people are poor because they just don't work hard and they don't care. And so they found out that people who tend to have those beliefs are people that grew up in what they call buffer zones. Buffer zones meaning that they grew up in areas where they never, ever had any contact with anyone who was poor, meaning that every one of their beliefs came from their family. And that literally because they never interacted, everything they learned was by what their parents told them or what they listened to. And think about where we're at right now, this echo chamber. Everything that our parents are here, that's what the kids are going to believe. And they believe it wholeheartedly, regardless of whether or not they've reality tested it or not.
Yeah. And I think that goes back to some of what we were talking about off air with the sense of entitlement. We were just to cue the folks in, we were talking about unions, things like that, and how the auto industry basically destroyed itself, pricing itself out of business. And unions are a great thing, but at what point are you talking entitlement? At what point is it, no, I'm not going to do that because that's that dude's job when we all have to get it done regardless? And it's that question of, how do you, I just lost that. I'm sorry.
That's how important it was. My brain literally exploded.
Yeah. Yeah, talking about just the polarization of things, where to go with entitlement, where to go. Like, I'm pretty happy with the fact that my wife and I do not have broadcast television. Really, like we have it, but we don't watch it. So I really don't think my son's going to be inundated by want, gimme, gimme, gimme. And when you're the buffer zones. Is
Hmm.
what you were talking about, and I can definitely say that. Whenever you're talking about people that were brought up upper middle class, things like that, that never really had to like go live on their own necessarily and work two jobs to make ends meet, that kind of stuff. Yeah, I definitely don't buy into the mentality of um, people are in their situation because they're lazy. Uh, I've had life happen to me where, yeah, next thing I knew, I was on food stamps. I was working, I had a job, but it just didn't clear the bills. So, like it happens, and we have gotten to a point of that in our country.
Well, and that's where I think it's interesting when you look at this hyper wealth that is kind of out there, that concentrated wealth. And I saw that a lot in Dallas. A lot of the clients I worked with are in that. And
Mm,
and what's interesting is like a lot of you and I can kind of connect with. Every one of us probably knows somebody where they were like one life event away from something like that happening.
yeah,
But the thing is, like, think about like the hyper wealthy, the uber wealthy, to where that doesn't exist. It doesn't matter what happens. It doesn't matter if someone works. There's a trust fund. There is just wealth that was been handed down from family to family. And think about what that does to somebody. I always grew up with, well, no, well, no, we got to be careful of that. Well, no, we can't afford that. Imagine if money was no option. Imagine if the laws, of
yeah,
economics really didn't apply. And that's a vastly different world to grow up in. And some people think that makes things easier. The reality is, man, it's like I think what you see a lot of times, and I think you see this playing out in the world right now, is that you can have everything when you don't have anything to worry about. A lot of times that makes people even more unhappy because I have everything that I can take to make me happy. And so now what do I do? It's about more power. Well, how can I do this a little bit more? How can it's and that it is interesting that people running this country tend to be from that socioeconomic status. I mean, I don't know. It'd be
yeah.
curious if any of our listeners actually have the stats of the socioeconomic stuff of the people in Congress. But think about the people running our country, and and think about how that would affect your concept of like what people really go through and how that can dehumanize somebody. Well, you're
Yeah,
only poor because you've earned it. Well, if you don't know anyone who's poor, well then how would you really know? Think about healthcare.
yeah,
If you've been rich your whole life, do you really know what it's like to have to choose between your medicine and paying your bills and eating that week? Do you really know what it's like to go, wow, that's expensive, but I got it, versus, oh my God, how am I going to afford that? That's my mortgage for the month.
yeah.
It's yeah, that's man, and then you start disconnecting reality, man. That's not a
Well,
good recipe.
and that's just it. I think that we have hit a point as a society where there, and I've tried to tell people for the longest time, make no mistake, um what's going on in our country right now is utterly class warfare.
Yeah.
That's all it is. It's the have and the have-nots. That's why we have the huge debates going on about communism and things like that we have going on. Is the disparate difference of economic ratio, and the fact that like the 1% just have a crazy amount of money, and there's about 45% that have almost nothing.
Hmm.
um, and the rapid decline of the middle class, the rapid disappearance of the middle class over the last 15, 20 years. Um, it has become an issue, not just economically, but I think socially, mainly because we've I think lost the concept, not necessarily of a hard day's work, but lost the concept of turning a wrench. We've lost the concept of trade schools because, hey, that's going to be automated anyway. Eh, you know, sure, someone's going to have to fix the automation. It's not just programmers. There's a bunch of dudes with tools that go and replace like robot arms and stuff like that and still work on machines. So, at some point, we hit a point where it was like go to college or amount to nothing.
Yeah.
And I think that was a mistaken message to give a lot of people because, yeah, a lot of people, I'm gonna just come right out and say it. A lot of people don't necessarily need college. Um, a lot of people aren't cut out for college. I'm all about giving people 2 years of trade school for free, but community college, I don't really know. Um, if you want to go to trade school and like learn to weld or something like that, hey, absolutely. I think that contributes a lot to infrastructure, but um, trying to make things balanced through education, I think, is a flawed means of doing things. Um,
Well, and that's where I think we start seeing that symbiotic nature of media, internet, and how it's affecting and almost amplifying and magnifying what's going
yeah,
on in society. Because I was listening to a podcast the other day where they're kind of talking about how it's like, well, this stuff has been going on for years, and like they're right. Politics necessarily haven't changed,
no,
but the way the way it's delivered, everyone sees it, and now it's changing
yeah,
society. And so what you see, I mean, think about like the new American dream for kids is that it kind of started off with what you're saying, like, well, I want to be a factory worker, a steel worker, a
yeah,
welder, or whatever. And then it started kind of getting into you're a sucker if you go to college. I'm seeing my YouTube guys that I'm watching, they're playing video games. And that's what I want to do. I'm going to be a YouTube star. Like I literally have clients going, I'm going to be a YouTube person, all right? So, okay, what do you know about SEO,
yeah,
monetization of advertising? Oh, they have no idea. But that's the whole point. And it's like this, it's now you're a schmuck if you go to college or you go to school or you're a hardworking person. I mean, I have
yeah,
kids openly have a disdain while they're taking their parents' money, like for the car, the clothes. They'll look down at their parents going, they're a sellout, they're this. And it's like, but you're taking the money while they're selling out. Like, do you not? But that's where we're at.
Do you not see how you're an enabler?
Oh, it's ridiculous. It's
You're
like,
enabling them selling out. You realize
yeah,
that?
exactly. But think about it. But that is the world we're in also right now. I mean,
Yeah.
literally, I was flabbergasted. So one of the things I've been doing a lot this week is I've been kind of like, almost like a little quasi experiment. So I've been like watching what's being said on TV by the politicians, these media people, and then I
Okay.
will immediately go and start following my Facebook post, and you see like a almost a 1-to-1 correlation between what is being said and then what now is being thrown out onto Facebook and what people are saying, and I listened to I was almost impressed by it. So I don't know if you watched it this morning, or maybe it was yesterday. Mitch McConnell was talking about what's been happening, and it literally this whole generation of like it's almost like you have no memory of anything that happened before whatever event they're talking about,
Yeah.
and then when they do a behavior like it's justified, right? And they have no memory that maybe 5 years ago they did the very same damn thing.
Yeah.
And Mitch McConnell literally is almost like he totally forgot about the whole not the Neil Gorsuch, but with Merrick Garland, totally forgot. And then like, well, this is all the Democrats' fault, and this
Yeah.
polarization. I don't know what we did basically to deserve this. And then the guy basically kind of called him out, going, "Well, the thing, I mean, you guys kind of did this back then." And then
Yeah.
he starts going into his whole, well,
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 what wasn't
that
quite
was
wasn't quite the same thing,
it wasn't it wasn't just shame, like he has
Yeah.
marbles in his mouth. But then here's the
Yeah.
kicker. This is like I was like almost impressed by how it. And then they asked him, so in 2020, if you guys lose the House and Trump is in election, what would happen if you have to nominate someone? Oh, we'll deal with that when it comes to it. It's like, oh my god, like,
Isn't that how you ended up with Trump?
oh my god, it's like I was sitting there going like. But this is the world we live in. I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know what I did to deserve this. It's like, you kicked him in the nuts. What do you mean you don't understand why he came over and punched you? I don't know. I didn't deserve this.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't go that far.
I don't know what you're talking about. I
Well, and that's just it. Like we have become radicalized. Like I posted an article on the Dudes and Beer group about and it was from Fox News, but a hairstylist seen in video kicking pro-life demonstrator.
Yeah, dude, I saw that. Like, whoa.
loses his job, may face charges, and that's one of those like, wait a minute, like you're kicking somebody in the face.
Yep.
Like what kind of possible peaceful message could you ever have at that point? Like any message you had is now lost. It's gone.
Well, think about it. I mean, what is that saying? I mean, and this is what this hyperpolarization does. And the article that was put out that we posted on both of our pages on the Gray Matters Radio and on the Dudes and Beer Facebook page, Dr. Neal, who is the researcher who did this research, he said where polarization starts, he said really kind of started in like the mid to late kind of 60s and just kept going. But he goes where hyperpolarization really kicks in is where instead of it being disagreeing over an issue and maybe being kind of surly about it, then it starts becoming personal attacks. And then it becomes this loop then of becomes personal attacks, and then it becomes you're the enemy. If you believe this, you are anti-American. And so that's the kicker. That's what gets both sides against it and going, it's not that you're a human being and an American that believes differently, that you're the enemy. And as a result of that, you're not human anymore, and I'm going to do whatever I have to do to basically take you out. And that is, as a clinician, that's the thing that scares the crap out of me. Is that's what we're seeing.
Dangerous mentality.
Very dangerous.
And that is the definition of a radicalized mentality.
Absolutely.
Whether you're talking about radicalized Islam out of the peaceful religion that is Islam, whether you're talking about radicalized Christianity out of the peaceful religion that is Christianity, what have you, even the radicalization of white supremacy, things like that, it all leads directly out of that. And it's mind-numbing to me, like I said, how I mean, I guess I can understand how people can say one thing, do another. I mean, good God, I've done that in my life myself. I try not to adhere to that philosophy anymore. But it's one of those, like, if you're trying to make change, if you're trying to do something, why would you go to violence? Why would violence be anywhere in queue?
Well, what's the purpose of the behavior? I mean, if you think about it, if you care so much, and it's interesting that, in one of the things that we'll be talking about on my show is how we can have a different discourse. And one of the things that I tried challenging people is when they made like a meme or made a comment, instead of like, I literally kind of called them out going, hey, listen, instead of being, if you care so much about the country, that's why you're so passionate, right? But it's like, when you say that meme, okay, what is the purpose of that meme? Because if your goal is really to change the country and make it better, well, we need each other. The other half is not going to mysteriously die or move to Canada, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, what's the purpose of the behavior? Because if you're telling somebody you're making fun of them, are they going to sit there and go, you're absolutely right, I want to work with you on this? Or is it the opposite? And we know that. So then the purpose is just to feel better or to feel right or to kick someone while they're down.
Yeah,
and
or to feel vindicated.
Right. And that's right, to sit there and go, as an American, we got to sit there and go, what's the end game with the game that everyone is playing? Is it just like a frog in boiling water where they're not realizing it? I mean, because it's like, is it all about ratings? Is it just about getting elected? Because elections are not about governing anymore. Because the way they're running these elections, it literally is about, it's scorched the earth. Like here's a perfect example. John Kasich, the governor of Columbus, he's a real good dude. I mean, he's Republican, but Columbus is one of those 50-50 states where you can't be radical and you can't just like spout something. You have to earn that vote. And so he's on his way out, and he tweeted this the other day. Now, and this is a Republican governor saying this, mind you. He says, America may have gained a new member of the Supreme Court, but a part of our nation's soul was lost during this toxic process. The zero-sum game environment we are in today, where many are focused on winning at all costs instead of what's best for our country, must end if we ever wish to begin healing these partisan divisions and tackling some of the most serious problems facing our nation.
I've got the applause going right now for him.
Literally.
Good God, yeah. Yeah.
It's like, why? And the thing is, why is it an outgoing governor is the only person saying this?
Yeah.
Because what is the end game? What is the end game? Because all I'm seeing as a clinician being in the trenches is our country literally being ripped apart.
Yeah.
And it's scary as shit to me. We wonder why is addiction so bad despite everything we throw at it? Why is failure to launch? Kids just not really giving a crap and not believing any of this anymore.
Yeah,
Depression,
why
anxiety.
is the new end of adolescence 25?
Yeah.
You know?
I feel like it's almost like sometimes I feel like as a clinician, it's kind of like, it's like an oven, right? And the bread keeps coming out burnt. And instead of going, hey, maybe it's the oven baking the bread that's causing this, all we're investing in is, elaborate knives that cut off the burnt, messed up kind of pieces. And we really need to sit there and look at ourselves as a clinician and look at ourselves in a mirror as a country and go, maybe the reason why all these problems are getting worse, we're losing our sons or daughters or generations, is that maybe the world that we've created is making kids this way. It's making people this way. And if we don't turn back, where are we going to go as a country? What's going to happen? What is going to get people to realize maybe we've gone a step too far and maybe the ends don't justify the means anymore?
Oh, the ends have never and people forget the rest of that story. People forget the rest of Machiavelli's Prince, where things go horribly awry. And where he's like, maybe the ends don't justify the means, because you're always going to end up with crap. There's a great term of phrase that I use in the industry all the time. You can polish a turd, you just end up with crap everywhere.
That's how I feel like. Think about it. We were a country that landed a freaking man on the moon. Like we dealt, and now we're at the country of duct tape. We're the country of let's get a really good rug that we can cover up everything. And it's like we can't fix shit anymore because there's that polarization.
Well, and we've also totally forgotten how to fix shit. We become a mentality of disposable.
Yeah.
Everything is disposable. When it breaks, throw it away. Go out and buy a new one because a better one's come out. There is yet to be a computer in my house that has not seen at least 5 lifetimes, that has not seen at least 5 incarnations of what it does. And they all get cycled down to eventually just being the media player in the living room.
Well, think about Chris, you're in technology, right?
Sure.
When something is wrong, how vital is it for you to understand the system you're working with, to help you not only understand it, to help you diagnose it, it's everything, right? And so if you didn't understand the system you were working with, would you have any idea how to diagnose it?
I wouldn't have a job.
No, you wouldn't, right? So
people wouldn't hire me. Right now, I'm in a union town. I don't even get to push buttons on my gig. My job is to make sure people push buttons right. And to be there in case something goes wrong, I know how every piece of equipment is wired together and where the points of failure are. That's my job.
It's common sense. Anybody you talk to, doesn't matter what industry you're in, doesn't matter what their career is, everyone will tell you the same damn thing, right? But yet, that's the fucked up thing with why can't we fix anything? Because the bullshit that they're feeding us, that has so many personal conflicts of the real reason why something is a problem, that no one actually understands what the issue is. You have people literally the only thing they know about weather is basically a talking point that a lobbyist gave them, and they are basically going, I don't understand anything about this, but the scientists that have PhDs studying it for 30 years of their lives that have no gain, nothing to gain by it winning or losing, they're wrong. And it's like, that's the world we live in, where of course we can't fix shit because no one can have the stuff that most people are being fed through the media has no idea what the real problem is. And therefore people will believe, well, this solution, of course it's going to work. This is what my guy says. But it's do you actually understand how that works?
I think it comes down to the issue straight up of black and white, and not understanding nuance, not understanding that that fine line in between things. That's the whole reason for Gray Matters Radio existing, is exploring that realm in between, delving into that, because not everybody sees the forest and the trees. Most people see one or the other.
Well, Well, it's amazing because like when I've kind of started going to people and go, hey, I'd love for you to come on the show, and they're like, well, tell me about it. I'm like, well, instead of this being a show about, oh, this person is right, this person is wrong, we want to really make it a big part of the show about, let's actually explore what this issue is. So my dad, I want to have him on the show, talk about healthcare.
Sure.
My dad was the chief resource officer of a healthcare system, and one of the things him and I have talked about is the supply side of healthcare. I mean, the manufacturers, the pharmaceutical companies, the hospitals, the delivery. And he goes, It's funny how the funny thing is everyone is always talking about the problem with healthcare, the evil insurance companies, the government, right? He goes, the funny thing is, 1% of the problem, 1% of the problem is that 99% of it is the supply side of healthcare, and nobody is talking about it because no one actually understands it. Yeah. Or the people that do understand it, they don't want you to understand it because the people that are paying them lots of money, that's how they make their money.
That's how they make their money.
And so that's where I look at what our goal is, with this show, and I look at this is what you're doing is
sure.
People will you can sit there and tell someone bullshit, but if they're smart enough to go, wait a minute, that makes no sense. My understanding of the problem is X. Well, then you can't lie to people. That's the ultimate power the country and the people have is to go, hey, I know you're lying to me. I know that's bullshit, and I don't believe that. And so I'm going to go in a different direction with that regardless of what you tell me.
Yeah. Yeah, and that does take some stick-to-itiveness. It does take some, I'm not going to necessarily say rhetorical skill, but some skill to be able to filter information. Yep. And to be able to unbiasedly filter information is the important thing. Like we were saying in the last episode, using the scientific method, going into it. Kind of looking at it dispassionately from both sides and trying to really understand motivations of both sides, things like that. And that's a lot of why I named the second part of this episode The Healing of America. Like how do we even begin to start that healing process, to start that bridge of trust again? And I don't want to use the cheap, tawdry term reaching across the aisle, because that makes it political. And I really think that the red-blue political part of this is probably about 20%, if maybe 30%. The rest of it comes down to, much like why Kavanaugh said things the way he said them, he felt a personal attack. And when people feel personally attacked, they tend to lash out a little bit more. So
it's tough, man. I mean, like,
yeah.
And that's right. Like the thing is, like when you and I started, kind of talking and being on your show, like I really was enamored with the idea of, because me and my friends always talk about hanging out, having some beers, and just talking, and that's the challenge. And I think that's where people sell their soul, whether it be voters. Politicians going, well, I have to word it this way because I won't get voted in. The media going, well, if I don't make it bombastic and whatever, I'm going to lose my ratings. And it's like, you're right. It's like, if we're going to have a conversation, and Dr. Neal talked about this in the article of, you can't have a normal conversation because you won't get ratings. No one's going to listen. So shit, I got to spice it up a little bit. Oh, I'm going to make it. And then all of a sudden you sell your soul. And then all of a sudden you're just like everything else. And that challenge, how do I get people to listen and be entertaining and have these conversations and in the world that we're in right now? And I think kind of doing what we're doing, having fun with it, having some beers, talking again.
That's it. Doing it in as informal a setting as possible. And the only way I explain it to people whenever they're like, oh, what's it going to be like, on the show? Is it? And I'm like, it's just a conversation. We're just going to sit back and we're going to talk for a little while. That's it. I'm going to ask some questions and you're going to answer them, and we're going to jag off on some stuff left and right, and then come back, and we're just going to have a conversation about it. It's going to be relaxed, and we might agree, we might disagree during the conversation, but we'll definitely go somewhere with it. And
this is where I'm curious, like, because I'm always like the hobbyist kind of conspiracy theorist, but I know you definitely, I mean, evidenced by the CIA, DOD, kind of listening to you. But I mean, what do you think the end game is? I mean, what do you like? Because for the life of me, I'm really trying to figure out, like, because these people can't be obtuse to the fact of what's happening. So like, I mean, what do you think the end game of what's happening in this country is? Is this by design? Do they want people to be divided, and for what reason then?
I'm not going to say that they, capital T, that they don't want us to be divided. When you're divided, you go with the devil you know. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
When you're divided, when things are tumultuous, the last thing you want to do is change. Last thing you want to do is change. You yearn for that security. You yearn for it like a warm blanket in the cold, man. Just that comfort of knowing at least the same dude is there. The Lord knows what the new guy would do. So politically, I think it does behoove those that are in office and have been in office for a good 30, 40 years, things like that. This kind of consternation amongst our country, this kind of conflagration, fire is what conflagration means, folks. Means an out of control fire, and that's what we have on our hands as a country and as a society. And how do we rein it in? How do we not look with bitterness at other people who have done literally nothing to us? Like, we don't even know them. Like, as a therapist, isn't that kind of important for the actual focus of anger? Because anger is a healthy emotion. It's not an emotion not
Hands
to have.
down, yeah.
It's a good emotion. It's a healthy emotion. But good God, if you're angry at people that you don't know on a regular basis, you need to check into that.
Well, I mean, think about like, I know like that what always stops like that anger is empathy and understanding. Like I remember I like, being a first time, being a parent, and I remember that, like, I always had some anger issues. If you ask my wife, I've got a lot better at it. And I remember like there were so many times where Eleanor was just like, man, she was just being a little pain in the butt, right? And there's that part of me that wanted to yell. There's that part of me that wanted, but then I knew instantaneously like that's going to crush her, or that's going to make her feel. And then it's out of that, I'm feeling all this anger, I'm feeling this frustration, but yet that care and compassion and knowing what it's going to put her through is the thing that makes me to stop that, and not saying or not yelling, and think about, is there that civility in this country right now that makes someone go, that's my brother, that's my best friend, that's my coworker, that's an American. It doesn't exist anymore.
No. And that's just it. We've gotten to a point that cul-de-sacs don't even talk to each other.
No. No, I like literally. There's like friends that
tripped my neighbors out.
It
tripped my neighbors out when about like 2 months ago when I was home, I saw like a 1.5 foot long coral snake in my backyard, and I tried wrangling it. It took off, but we have young kids on both sides, and unfortunately, the coral snake is like deadly. Like you will die within 20 minutes of being bitten. You won't even know you were bitten because like it's going to chew on you. It doesn't have fangs. It's not going to attack you. It's going to run. It doesn't have fangs to defend itself. It has to chew on you. So you think it's a friendly snake, whatever. Kids are attracted to it because it's pretty and it's colorful. So I went and told it just freaked them out, the fact that I was coming by and telling them that there was a venomous snake that I saw in the backyard. Be careful for your kids. It was weird. Like for me, that's good God, come let me know.
But this is the messed up logic that,
hey, I saw a cougar. What the hell are you doing at my front door? Just like, dude, I saw a cougar in my backyard. Okay, so
I like, cougar got in the neighborhood,
whatever, dude. Like, it just blew my mind. It tripped me out.
But this is what's interesting, and this is like this pendulum kind of effect. So it's like, when you look at like, and this was interesting. This was I don't know, was it a couple months ago when I did the whole Trump when I went out to the Trump rally?
Yeah.
And here's the thing: what was interesting is that everybody is so disconnected. Everyone almost hates each other, right? Everyone just feels like everyone's giving it to them, right? And then so everyone like almost hates each other ever anymore. I mean, don't even get me started on what's happening on the airplanes and all that, but like. Yeah. But then it's like everyone feels so alone, but then they feel together and they feel a sense of community by these people that think just like me. You're as angry as I am. You're as dicked over as I am. We all believe the same thing. Here's this guy that we're all going to rally around, and we feel together. Now I'm going to protect that community more than anything. So you attack this person, you're attacking me. We're a family now. We're a community. We don't mess with that. And that's where it's happened of now everyone, that's how we get all siloed off. And that's why everyone is so protected of each other, whether it be by race, by political lines, by political idea, by socioeconomic status. And that one's tough to break now because it's not a belief. It is a community you're asking to break up.
Yeah, yeah. And we really have gotten to straight up a point of tribalism in America. Yeah. Very much so, where it's almost gang warfare to an extent. It's definitely, at least politically, hit that point of violence where it doesn't matter what happens anymore, really.
Well, it seems like the goal now is to break it.
Yeah, it's going to be really, no holds barred.
Yeah, I mean, if you talk to a lot of Trump supporters, I mean, a lot of their belief was like, well, fuck it. I mean, let's just throw a grenade into the system and let's blow it up and see what happens. Yeah, I mean, talk to the Antifa on the other side. It's like, well, what is your end game? To create chaos. It almost seems like people are so hopeless now. It's like, well, we tried talking and they don't care. Maybe if we scare the crap out of them, and you already see it. Like I was reading an article just today where Rand Paul's wife sleeps with a gun because she's afraid a Democrat is going to kill her. It's like, is that the end game now of I'm just going to scare the crap out of you. If you're not listening to me, I'm going to make you fear for your life until you do something or change your mind.
Well, and there was the staffer who was going around doxing people that voted for Kavanaugh.
Yeah. I'm scaring you with information I'm going to release about you now.
You know, and like threatening to release his kids' medical records, you know, all kinds of stuff. And that's just, I don't know. Like I said earlier, I see that as the same as the guy that first, sets the first car on fire at the protest. I don't care if you're rioting because your team won, which I just don't grasp that mentality. Really, like that's one that we need to explore on Gray Matters hardcore is what causes that mentality of my team just won, let's screw up our town.
Diffusion of responsibility. When people are in groups, that diffusion of responsibility, it's like what you're doing isn't wrong because everyone else is kind of doing it.
I've said it for years. People in and of themselves are good people. We're good. We're smart. We're intelligent people. The larger the group gets, the lower the IQ gets. Mm-hmm. And it happens exponentially. I worked in nightclubs for years, man. You add a little bit of alcohol to that mix, and boy, howdy. Like, dude, you see smart people like just want to get in fights for no good reason, and it's like, what the hell's wrong with you? Like, that's honestly half the reason I quit drinking at gigs. Was like, it was like, holy shit, look at this. Like, these are people that I know and respect who, after a good 3 drinks, are just totally different people. You know, like itching to fight, like wanting to get into a mix, and it's like, what the hell is, dude? It is Grateful Dead night. What the hell is wrong with you?
Me and my buddies from grad school, like we're the most peaceful, loving kind of guys, and there's one guy in particular, I love him to death. All right. You know, 1 minute we're all like Goonga, Galunga, Gagoonga, I love you.
Yeah. Right? Totally.
The next minute, fucking break through and conquer. You know, like, I'm challenging you to a fight. It's like, damn, man, put the blade away. Like, what the fuck? Like, literally, on Jill and I's first date, we got really drunk, and I went outside to start stomping on a bush. Why? I don't know, but apparently she thought it was funny. Thank God. But it's like, think about it. Like, we have these very animalistic impulses that basically get brought out of us.
We do.
And I think what's happening is that we're the media and politicians are massaging it. They're exploiting it because they know it works. And I get it. Like, if you're trying to get elected or try to get ratings, and I mean, think about it. Like, let's say you and I were like, let's say we had 1 million listeners. Okay. We have sponsors. Okay. We have everything. And let's say we're like, all right, now, Chris, you know what, man? I'm feeling kind of like the sense of responsibility. I think we're kind of fucking the country up by saying and doing this. So I think we need to stop doing what we're doing that got us all of our, ratings, and let's start being nicer to each other. We're going to lose our jobs. And so now we're being asked to do something that is against our livelihood, that's going to affect our family.
Sure.
And that's, I think, also what's playing into it. If you might not get elected, but if you do X, you're going to get elected, maybe it won't hurt.
Well, like I said earlier in the episode, my wife was even cautious whenever I spoke to her this evening, and she was like, do you really need to cover this? And I was like, yes.
Yeah.
Like, we have to cover the aftermath of this. We have to cover the fact that there were people like clawing at and banging on the doors of Congress as votes were going on. That kind of stuff. And the closest vote ever, like 2 votes, decided it. And like I said, it was as like, you want to talk polarization, go look at the votes. Go look at it. Like, it is right down the line. Like, I've still got it pulled up here on Google. Hold on, I can bring it up, because it was 51 yes, 49 no, 50 were Republicans, 46 of the no's were Democrats. 1 Republican voted no, 1 Democrat voted yes, 2 independents voted no. So it was pretty much straight down the line.
Well, and that's where you almost get to the point now to where it's like, I mean, really, I think, I almost think like the Republicans need to change their color to the red Crips, and the Democrats need to change it to the baby blue, or the blood, the red Bloods and Crips, because that's where I feel like where we're at now. It's like gang war.
Like I say, it's gang warfare.
You did this to me, I'm going to do this tenfold to you because you took at our guys. And then where does it stop? Like, people keep going, well, the Supreme Court nomination is really showing the polarization. Maybe we'll overcome it, but it's like, I don't think so. Like, I mean, what is it really going to take? Not in our current
state, we won't overcome it.
No. I mean, do you really think, besides like a John Kasich or something, do you honestly feel like someone in a government in politics is going to step up in leadership to go, maybe we need to like do a détente? Maybe we need to reevaluate this? I mean, do you see that happening?
I really don't. No, I don't see any breaks being halted on the behemoth that is politics in America the way it is status quo. I really don't see that going anywhere, changing anytime soon. Like I said earlier, I think the true end game of all of it is ultimately control. It's the fact of, and you've heard me say it before, I'm a big proponent of subliminal technology. It's been used. We know it's been used. When it's negative, your brain is on the defensive, and it's so much easier to just throw things in there. And when you throw things in there, it just kind of roots in, because now it's been thrown in with all these negative things, and your brain is wired to learn from negativity. It's wired to learn, like, socially not to do this because I had a negative experience. It's wired to learn, don't touch that because it's hot. It's pure animalistic survival instinct. And I posted an article the other day. I want to say I posted it in Gray Matters, talking about the possibility of removing the amygdala, the reptilian almond part of our brain that's square in the center, oddly enough, just up above the brain stem, like just up above the parts of locomotion and autonomic response, just before cortex happens, is this reptilian part of our brain, folks, that is our fight and flight reflex. It is every bit that is, and they say reptilian because if you know reptiles, it's the fact that there is no cuddling to a reptile. They may be calm, they may be cool with you, but they aren't cuddling. Sorry. Reptiles don't purr. If a sound like that is coming out of them, be wary.
Do they purr?
It's our reactive. It's our reactive part of our brain that is literally fight or flight, utter survival. That's all it is. And if
the thing I keep trying to figure out, I think it was 19. I got to remember back to my grad school days, but I think it was like 1958, where they banned subliminal advertising. Is basically it's not good for people, right? I mean, political ads, regular advertising, right? It's been challenged a couple times. I mean, think about when during the Bush Gore election, when one of the advertisers tried doing the rats thing, and they got in a lot of trouble, right?
Yeah.
So think about so that was outlawed, right? But then now here we are, flash forward all these years, right? And then we have literally all the social media people all coming out basically saying we took what we know about your brain and we hijacked it to have you believe something or see something, and it's messing you up even more. I mean, so much in the fact they're kind of apologizing and walking it back because they're probably afraid they're going to get sued. And yet, why is it that in 57 we banned subliminal advertising because it was bad, but then with this, where it's even more egregious and causing even more problems, nothing, crickets? No, that's just the way we do business. I don't get that. Why nobody is standing up and calling that out for what it is.
I really, and that's where the conspiratorial part of me comes in. I really look at it as the fact of Facebook gets money from InQtel. That is the financial arm of the CIA. Look it up, folks. INQTEL.com. You can go check it out. They specifically, their charter is to invest in technologies that pull social information, that kind of stuff. It's pretty wild, pretty crazy stuff. They also funded Niantic, which was a huge GPS locator for a while. They were also the ones that came out with Pokemon Go, Niantic Soft, which is why people were like, oh, look at that. Now suddenly you're going to be looking for Pokemon in all these private parts of your home, down in parts of the city where, street cameras can't get to. All that kind of stuff, and you can make all kinds of maps, and it's pretty wild to know that a mapping company came up with the technology to play Pokemon Go.
Well, what is it like? They're saying with was it 5G is using the same frequencies as the Pentagon's crowd control technology or something like that, right?
Yeah.
Jeez, man.
Yeah.
And this is where I think I think this is really what's crazy is that there's so many people
call it crazy.
It is fucking batshit crazy.
Unfathomable. But don't call it crazy, otherwise there wouldn't be patents.
That's true.
Go to go to dudesandbeer.com/knowledge vault. You can find all kinds of patents for mind control devices.
Oh, I love it, man. But there's so many people in the last, I don't know, especially since I've been doing a lot of radio stuff, people keep trying to goad me into, Mike, do you think Trump is a sociopath? Do you think he's a narcissist? And the thing is, I don't give an answer. And the reason why I don't give an answer is that I know
some of those people who are asking you that.
Yeah, and the thing is, the reality is, the reason why I don't like the answer is because the only people, my profession is literally, they've been sucked into this pop psychology thing of he's a narcissist, he's a sociopath, which all of us fucking know. That's what a narcissist wants, to create that chaos, right? And the reality is, it's while we're sitting there talking about this thing about him being a narcissist or not, which doesn't even fucking matter, we're not sitting there going, guys, look at what, regardless of who doing what, look at the effect it's having on our country that we all see. Why are we not standing up and making an issue about that? And none of us are. Fucking crickets, right? And it's like a complete dereliction of duty. Every single one of us should be radically ashamed of ourselves for engaging this bullshit instead of demanding APA go and ACA and all these go. You need to lobby your congressman to go, this is fucking our kids up. Are you going to make a stand for it? We have, remember Grover Norquist literally did the power of sending the congressman, you are not going to raise taxes, and held everyone to it. Why are we not doing the same thing as lobbyists going, you are not going to do a negative ad like this? And I am going to sign a pledge to not run a campaign like that. But we're too busy writing our blogs about Trump.
That's why, and we should figure out Because I said it in the last episode. I've said it numerous times. And it might be one reason why the CIA is listening, because I use the big T word when I say it. I think all political ads should be banned as terrorism. You are using fear as a means by which to achieve your political end. That is
Yeah.
the Webster's dictionary definition of terrorism.
Yeah.
So if you did that, that would mean no more television ads, no more print ads. That would level the playing field between incumbent and upcoming.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
That would do a hell of a lot to level the playing field.
Well, God forbid they actually talked about the issues.
That
Dare,
that
oh God,
oh,
fuck, oh, fuck that. Yeah, I don't want that.
yeah, I mean that's about what you get out of them. It's a mouthful of marbles, like you said.
I mean, literally, it's like, God forbid we actually educated people on what was really going on in this country. God forbid, and that's a scary thing to me. Going, why don't you want people to know? What would happen if people actually really knew what was going on? They make an informed decision. They actually elect people that actually are legitimately trying to change things.
Yeah.
And so then it's like, do you not want to change things? Is there
what if
a
we
weird
did have a
fucked up
movement where it's like almost like Richard Pryor, you know, you know, Brewster's Millions,
Yeah, I
where
love that. You're totally
yeah,
right, though.
yeah,
Yeah. Think
where
about pay it forward.
you know,
That's what's messed up is like, think about like, I mean, as you said, your wife is kind of like, I don't know if you should be talking about this. Like, literally, Jill is petrified of me doing this show because she understands that I want to make a difference. And she knows it's driving me nuts. So I have to do something about it. But she is totally open about, Mike, it scares the shit out of me, you going into some of these places. It scares the crap that you are trying to make change. And that is fucked up. That
change is waves.
Change is scary. And that something bad's going to happen because we want people to think. We want to make the world a better place for us, not the 1%.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
just it. Like I've worked on both sides of the news. I've worked on the extreme side of the news. I've worked on the news. And my eyes have been open to both sides, and my eyes have been open to facts from both sides. I'd love to say that a lot of what people like Alex Jones say is absolutely nutballs. The scary thing is like quite a bit of the time he's reading straight up news articles and like extrapolating into worst case scenario. But dude, those news articles exist. Like they're there. You know,
and that's right. It is trying to figure out that what level of truth, what is the interpretation of it. And that's a crazy thing. And just like with these.
And I think some of that comes with the fact that we as a society have stopped caring about truth with a capital T, the universal truth, the truth that just is. We've made truth partisan. We've made truth pliable, flexible.
Well, think about what is truth. One of my favorite stories from philosophy class is the allegory of the cave.
Yes.
And that our whole view of reality is simply based upon the information that we internalize, and that's how we construct that view of reality. And so truth, and this is once again where we're kind of at now, and people are using it, that truth is simply just the information that I take in. So that is my truth, and it's you can't deny it. You're right, that is the truth. But it's like you have to look at everything to form the entire truth. There's a different story basically to it.
Yeah. You definitely you have to learn to look at things from multiple sides. You have to learn to weigh multiple angles of all things. And the allegory of the cave for me was something that when I learned it in college was a real game changer because it made me think about situations in a different way. It really did. It made me weigh situations in a different way. It made me look at things in a whole new perspective and of the fact of, is what I'm seeing a reality? Is what I'm seeing um, just my version of reality? You know, and it's hard, even using scientific method, to be like a true observational scientist, because you're always going to have some expectation of result. And how do you lose that expectation? You know?
Well, and I think even to go even further with that one, I think it, you almost have to, and I think this is where we got as a clinician. Literally, I mean, a lot of our work, it's cognitive behavioral therapy. It's about helping explore what people's beliefs are and how they believe it, and
Sure.
that a lot of times they'll have very skewed views of things that are happening. But as a clinician, if you're to sit there and go, "That's dumb, that's irrational," that's totally wrong, don't believe it, you're discounting that belief, even if it's irrational, even if it's totally negative. You have to at least acknowledge it and be and kind of help that and show that you have an understanding of it, and then gently start helping them understand that there's a different way of looking at it. Think about the discourse that we have now. Well, this is what I believe. You're fucked. And there can be 20 reasons why you're fucked in your economy. It's like
Yeah.
no one is sitting there going, let me try to understand where you're coming from and why you believe what it is you believe, even if I do disagree with you. It's a non-starter. That's what has to change. To me, that's rule number one of how do you promote change? Try to at least validate someone's belief, even if it's different than yours. Even if you think it's the most fucked, irrational, crazy thing, help them. Hey, I understand where you're coming from. I see why you believe that. Or now thank you for helping me understand why you believe that.
Yeah, yeah. And you really do have to be open of mind and open of heart, to do that. You have to be, not necessarily willing to be wrong, but at least willing to hear something else and understand it. So what can people do, to begin that road to personal empathy, that road to understanding, um, what
And
others
this is like
believe and
And this
why?
is where, this is, I think we can all make a call to action. I think it's blatantly obvious that we can't trust the media and politicians to do it for us. It's
No,
not going to happen. But the amazing thing is, just like social media has been used to create this, very easily we can use it to go in the opposite direction. So I'm challenging every single one of the listeners that are out there today is to, when you're going through your Facebook feed, look at people who are posting memes, attacking the other person, and instead of just doing a thumbs up or a thumb down or saying some snarky comment back, instead engage them. Ask them, hey, listen, hey, help me understand why it is that you believe that, or why you're feeling that way. And then,
sure.
hey, and then ask, wait, what is one thing that you would like the other side to understand or to meet you in the middle on? And I would love to, like, whether you can email us either Michael at graymattersradio.com. I want to hear what those interactions are like. I'd love to hear about it, and those are things that I want to bring up on our first show.
Yeah.
Is what was the change? What was the difference? Put down the hashtag Gray Matters. I want to know what the difference was. I've done it just with the few people that I've tried it on, and mysteriously the dynamic changes. They're still frustrated. They're still angry, but they'll talk. They feel understood. And imagine if every single one of us did that, and then other people did that.
Yeah.
It's amazing how all of a sudden we can control the dynamic and we can start talking to each other again. And it'd be easy. I mean, and I know it's like naive, but maybe it's all kumbaya, but I don't think it is that hard. I think we can all do it. And that's the challenge that I'm putting out to everybody.
I don't find it naive at all. If I thought it was naive, I wouldn't be doing this show for 3+ years. Um, quite honestly, it's the fact of, you have the same mission that I do. You want people to take a minute, take a deep breath, step back and think about it. Look at things from more than just your point of view. Um, be willing to educate yourself on something, to find out a different point of view. Like I said earlier, I don't get my news from broadcast. I don't get my news from opinions. And there was an old method back in the day where it was, um, is what you're telling me true? Does it affect somebody I know? Does it in some way degrade somebody I know? And if so, it's probably gossip, and I don't need to talk about it. It's not an actual fact. Um, and it's kind of a stoic way to look at the world, but at the same time, once you get past the want of gossip, because that's definitely a dopamine reaction,
Yep.
that's a make you feel good, real quick kind of thing. Same thing with posting the meme, getting the last word in. Um, you know, once you learn to get past some of that, um, and I'm trying to remember who it was. Oh, it was the girl, my wife, on the Yes But Why podcast, interviewed um, the girl from Vice Principals, who plays the crazy girlfriend
Oh
teacher.
yeah.
And she interviewed her on the Yes But Why podcast, and she was like, "LL Cool J gave me a great piece of advice, and it was your ego is not your amigo." And I was like, "Oh my God, that's so beautiful. Your
Dude, it
ego
is.
is not your amigo."
No, not at all.
And
It's
you really do, in order to do this, folks, have to be willing to lose something of yourself. You have to be willing to let control go. You have to be willing to not be in control, not want control. Like I said in the last episode, if we could get back to a point of actively listening, and I mean that, active listening, um, that means shutting up, not waiting your turn, not putting any aspersions on what somebody's saying, not putting it through any filters, just absorbing it and taking it in, actively listening to somebody. That is the beginning to empathy.
yeah.
That's the beginning to wanting to understand where other people come from, and I guess that's something that myself I've had since I was young. I've always wanted to understand other people's understanding of things. Um,
I
so
think even
for
when you
me,
don't
it's not a
want to.
foreign concept. Well,
Yeah.
like I said in the last episode, that was a big part of me going down bad roads in life, was actively trying to shut that off because I'd let it happen so much that it was like, my God, I'm tired of feeling other people. I gotta go.
Yeah.
I gotta check out. And I think that's where we are as a society, is people have either checked out or they are so totally emotionally overwrought, and overstimulated, emotionally overstimulated, that they don't know what to make of it.
hmm Well, it's what my uncle called it morose narcissism, where we
Ooh,
are so focused in on it's like you have narcissism, like overinflated sense of self worth, and I'm great, I'm special, the rules don't apply, I can do whatever I want. Morose is the opposite. It's almost worse, that I've been so dicked over, so wrong, so
yeah,
mistreated, so just I have earned the right to think about what is best for me. Literally, that is the movement that's going on in this country. That was regardless of Trump and his policies, the Republicans and their policies, Democrats and their policies. The one thing you see is people massaging, you're dicked over, you've been fucked, you have earned the right to be angry, which some people
yeah,
do, but you've earned the right to do what is in the best interest of you, and regardless of what it does to other people.
yeah,
That literally is that America first, principle. That it's like it
yeah,
transcends every single party. That I've been so addicted. I've earned the right to do what's best for me. Fuck everybody else.
yeah,
It's just a different version of greed is good, and do whatever you got to do to make money. And it's like, just because you can do something and massage it, or just because it's right, there's a different way.
yeah.
Everyone can be right of being dicked over. The irony is that it's not like one group is more dicked over. We're all being dicked over. We're all being used, but yet
No, yeah,
somehow
we've all got
they're
a
turning
broken
us on each other.
bill of sale.
Yeah. Yeah, we're
Every one of us.
yeah, it was great. It is kind of impressive if you think about it. They found a way to go, we're dicking you over, but we're going to get it to where you think each other are dicking each other over. We're just going to keep
Exactly.
fucking you guys over. And it's
Yes.
like, how are we the only ones seeing? I'm not going to engage, in this. It's like,
Now
come
you
on.
almost sound like a conspiracy theorist.
Yeah,
'Cause,
yeah, man.
yeah, like it's a beautiful whirlwind of opportunity that they have created that literally feeds off of a mindset.
Yeah,
And quite honestly, like, here's where we kind of jag. It's in high magic, it's the concept of the egregore, and whereas the golem is the concept of something, an entity that somebody creates in order to take care of a task for themselves. An egregore is something that comes from like a mass mentality, and it's kind of dangerous, even just the concept to think. And there have been numerous studies done on the concept of numerous people focusing on a concept, focusing on an idea, the power of intended prayer in mass groups, and it's pretty amazing to see some of the results. So to think that there is a cabal of people, so to speak, as some would say, that have the intent to bring about malcontent amongst the American people, to bring this kind of dismay, to bring this kind of disorder just amongst us. Because, yeah, when we're busy fighting, we aren't really busy looking at all the laws that are attached to bills as they pass through. We aren't busy looking at things like the NDAA, where, oh my God, suddenly we can use drone strikes against American citizens. What's that about? And that got passed in the dark of night, attached to another bill. That kind of stuff. Um, that kind of sleight of hand, that political prestidigitation, definitely happens all the time. Um,
and sometimes I don't know what's worse. Is it worse to think that there is some giant conspiracy theory to divide the country for whatever nefarious purpose that none of us are going to really know what the end
yeah.
game is, or that humans we have played into our animalistic urges, and this game that's been played out for as long as modern society has been here,
Yeah.
and we're just feeding into each other like in some negative feedback loop, and it's almost like we can't help it.
Well,
We
and
don't
and
see
that's
that's
just it. We
what's
have
worse.
totally given into that animal instinct. We have totally made it where, either, yeah, you are going down that rabbit hole, or people are going, wow, look at that wacko going down the rabbit hole.
Hmm.
You
And
know?
well, and that's where it's like interesting of like, the one thing that humans we suck at is looking at ourselves as kind of fallible. It's almost kind of
Yeah.
scary, to us. I was having a conversation with someone about climate change, and they really didn't know anything about climate change, and I kind of presented some things, and then because they kept using the whole researchers, they're making money off all this stuff. I go, you do
Tons,
realize that,
tons of
yeah,
money.
tons of. I go,
Scientists are
dude,
just
I go,
balling.
and I go
Yacht
literally,
parties all day long, bro.
and that's why I was just like, I go, listen, I go, you trust me, right? And he's like, yeah. And I go, now you do realize that the grant dollars we get, we get it regardless of the results.
Oh
Two,
yeah.
we can't touch it. Every penny, even if we bought whiteout, has to be accounted for, and any money that's not used is returned. We don't see any of that money. The irony is that the opposition groups funding this, that's private dollars. Those are private dollars where researchers are being paid by companies to prove it, disprove it. That's the irony of the hypocrisy of the arguments that are made. And then literally what it came down to, when the argument came down to, okay, maybe there's not like some like researchers kind of cabal here. What he said to me is like, all right, you know what this basically it comes down to? I don't believe humans have the ability to make that change. I'm learning how to become actually a religious person, but he literally was just like, I just believe that we can affect that. That is arrogant of us to think that we can affect the planet. And
Wow.
that's where part of me then kind of goes back to, is that what a lot of this is about? Is that it's almost like we don't have the ability to look at ourselves in a mirror, that we've really screwed up. Like almost like a child, you kind of catch in a lie, but they almost just can't acknowledge it. Yep. And is that why we're in this little ballet of we can't look at ourselves in the mirror? I tried selling this book idea that the reasons all of our problems is collateral damage of our society. And my agent, I couldn't understand why no publisher wanted to pick it up. And she was blunt. She goes, Michael, who the fuck's going to want to read that? What you're saying is right. Who's going to want to read that we're the problem of basically fucking up our kids and our planet and our generation, and that it's up to us to change it? No one's going to want to buy that.
Everybody wants to buy that.
Yeah, and it's like I was so dismayed that literally made it to where I don't want to write anymore. To where it's like, what the fuck? Like,
no,
so,
I mean that's the problem.
That's the problem.
I remember a therapist a while back told me that like the reality that I had to come to as an addict, where it was like, I'm sorry, I can't feel that anymore. I can't go down that road of emotion. I can't let emotion rule the moment. That's got to go away. Otherwise, I go into this horrible spiral. Like even going to the point of not seeing the wrong I've done. Yep. Years later, totally different. But in the moment, absolutely not.
Well, I think even more, like sometimes it's less about not knowing the damage, or like a lot of times when we get to that place of I just don't care. I'm so consumed with my own hurt and pain, I just don't care what it does to somebody else.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's an oblivious point at that point to literally just not think about any consequence, to not think about impact to other people or even yourself.
And I think that's just interesting. I mean, I've had a lot of conversations, and I look at myself, I'm 39 years old, and look at all, my own therapy, my own work that I've done. And a lot of my own personal growth literally has been kind of centered, a lot of my insights has really become about, the effects that I have on other people, how becoming self-focused on my own pain, my own frustrations. And it's odd being in a field where my whole job is to empathize and connect with people, but yet I can turn that off when it's my own pain, and how powerful that is to know that's wrong, but being so focused in on it. And think about, once again, we can speak to our own personal experiences, but then think about, we're in a country now where the media and our politicians are literally massaging that. They're massaging that very emotion that a lot of us struggled with, that do bad things, and they're massaging it, they're developing it, they're evolving it for whatever purpose.
They're just giving everybody amygdala feed. That's all they're doing. And that's one reason why I couldn't work with media the way I used to, things like that. I could never go back and do that on either side of the spectrum for me, because either way, I'm feeding people's amygdalas. I'm not feeding their frontal cortex. I'm not making them think the way I am on this show, where it's like, sure, we're going to get into some cryptozoology here and there. We're going to get into some ufology. We're going to get into some parapsychology, all kinds of stuff. But when it comes to politics, when it comes to these conversations, when it comes to what's going on in our society, it's the fact of let's look at things from a logical point of view here. Let's learn to set emotion aside, despite what we personally believe, and get to the root of why we believe what we believe. And
we can turn it.
Understanding.
And that's the thing, the way the brain works, there's a pathway between that prefrontal cortex and that limbic, that amygdala kind of region. Yeah. And when you're using that part of your brain, it kind of shuts off that emotional part. I mean, literally the military is literally dicking around with deep implants in that neural pathway. It's called a prefrontal orbital cortex, and it literally takes stuff from that we see. It kind of stores it into our emotional memory. The military is messing around with it to shut it off, to prevent soldiers from storing memories into the amygdala to prevent PTSD.
Yeah.
And
so it's preemptive PTSD. Yeah.
It's just preempting. It's just like, but it's an arm wrestling contest. And when we're in a world where the other side's getting steroids and you're trying to arm wrestle it without it, it is so damn tough, and that's why it feels like a losing battle sometimes.
Well, and what would you think about the possible removal of one's amygdala?
Well, I think we're getting to a place in science where I think just because we have the ability to do something doesn't necessarily mean that we should, because
Well,
part of the human
it's
experience
the
is
lesson
pain.
of Jurassic Park.
Yeah, yeah. Dude, my favorite Hunter S. Thompson quote is a man who makes a beast of himself deprives himself the pain of being a man. And that's the thing of, like, when we're talking, like, I've read
Yeah.
articles about being able to rewire neural pathways to change how we think about memories. And it's like,
Yep.
but that's human experience.
Yeah.
I talk about that with clients all the time with, like, well, should I go on medication? I go, you need to be feeling this. How are you going to develop any strength to handle it if every step along the way you just want something to blunt it? We feel these emotions for a reason. You need to feel it. Well, I feel like crap. You need to feel like crap, because feeling like crap is the emotion that's going to make you go, I hate how I feel. And I have two choices. I either change the situation that is causing it, which might take time. It means I'm going to have to learn how to sit with it. Or just I want to make it go away, which means in the problem like remains the same. That's why my golden rule in therapy is to learn how to be okay not being okay. You can master that, you're fine in life.
Well,
There's
my wife today was actually like, "Wow, I can't believe you're as calm as you are." And I didn't even mention it to you before air because I didn't really want to think about it. But yeah, like earlier today, I got on job site and texted my lead and was like, "Hey, what room are we in?" Went to go meet him. Put my phone in my pocket. Got to my room and my phone had gone through some kind of reset, like hard reset. Like, hey, nice to meet you. I'm your new phone
oh
reset.
snap!
Dude, like I don't even have your contact info on my phone, bro.
What
Uh
happened?
no idea. And my wife was like, "Wow, like you're you're taking this really well." And I'm like,
Dude, it's
"Dude,
the CIA. I'm telling you, they're changing your brain. They didn't want
well,
you to talk to
I,
us. They didn't
I,
want us to talk tonight.
I was
That,
like,
that's the problem.
I was like, you know, there's nothing I can really do about it. It is what it is. I'm sure I have info backed up somewhere. It exists. It's not nowhere. I'm gonna have to call somebody and figure out how to get it back. But
Well, think
and
about it.
until
What
then, my phone will still ring. I can reset up my email. Like everything was gone. It was wiped clean, like it was a new phone. Crazy.
Well, and that's the toughest thing. I mean, like especially when like it's legitimately messed up. Like I remember this is probably like, oh shit, this is probably like maybe I don't know, like 6, 7 years ago. I had a business partner royally screw me over. Like literally, like we signed a lease,
Sure.
year end. This goes, oh yeah, I'm declaring bankruptcy. Yeah, moving out to California. Good luck with everything. And I remember like just left me. And mind you, my daughter was like 6 months old at the time. So it's like, oh yeah, by the way, yeah, good luck being a new dad and everything. And then being
Wow.
incredulous to it, right? And my wife's good friend, he's a lawyer, and then I had him walk me through everything. He goes, listen, man, you're fucked. I mean, he goes, man, like you can try going out to California and sue him, but like you're not going to get anything. He's bankrupt,
Yeah.
and literally you're going to spend more money trying to go after him than you would just sucking it up and figuring out how to deal with the situation. And he goes, I know you're angry, but any behavior, and I remember it vividly, because any behavior you're going to do to try to recoup money is only about your anger and nothing at all about solving the situation. Because if I were you,
Yeah.
tomorrow, right now, I would get on trying to figure out how you're going to save this lease so you don't default on it. And that was so tough to me to
Yeah.
swallow that, but it was the best advice, and it's something that has stuck with me, and I talk to clients about it all the time, is that we get so, I think, focused in on being justified. And this is what's going on in this country right now.
Yes.
I am so justified. It is knowingly. No one can deny that this is not fucked up. And it's like, you're right. But
Yeah.
any behavior you do is going to make it worse, and it's only about your anger. So then why are we doing why are we
Yeah.
doing it knowingly, making it worse?
Yeah.
Maybe
Why
we need
would
to
you
focus
feed
in
them?
on, you got it. We got to focus in on something else.
And like that happened not too long ago, where even and it it was evident when it happened. John McCain's funeral. where his last wish was for Trump not to be there.
Yeah.
And everybody that got up and spoke about Trump not being there. And it's like, wait a minute. You're actively making him there.
Yep.
Stop. Shut
That's
up. Quit mentioning his name. Talk about John McCain.
That's like the amazing thing is that, once again, regardless of who we're talking about here, everyone plays into each other. Literally, the one thing that they shouldn't do, they do. Because I always teach my clients, like, if one person is sitting there arguing and yelling and screaming, but you're the one being calm, you're reflecting back nothing that indicates or justifies their behavior. Well, then it changes that dynamic, that tennis match back and forth. And that's the thing I don't understand is that when everyone starts getting angry at Trump, and Trump, I mean, dude, regardless of what you think about it, the dude knows what he's doing. And it's hilarious that everyone falls into that trap. Every candidate, everyone falls into the same trap. And it's like, you take away the power that method has by being nice. By not giving him the fodder that he can then go to with his supporters. And it's like I don't understand why nobody gets that. Like, I literally wrote this was
it's literally when you fight it, you can't fight fire with fire. You can't.
Yeah.
Like, professional firemen can. You can't.
Yeah, and it's so obvious, but everyone falls for it because it's that emotion. Yeah. It's taking that fight, and it's like, no, be nice. What is it's Roadhouse. Remember Swayze? Be nice. They tell you to go fuck your mother. You escort them out, but you do it nice. There is so much truth. My wife's probably laughing her ass off that. Somehow it broke, Roadhouse in there. But
it's absolutely true.
It is.
It's absolutely true.
Be nice.
Nice.
Ah,
You'd be surprised how far that takes you.
I know.
Yeah, and it's literally just getting to a point of consciousness, being aware of surroundings, being aware of reactions, being aware of what you're doing and how you are actively interacting with the world and how the world is reacting to you.
Yeah, it's just, but it's easy to fall for it. I mean, we all care. We care that much. We get that upset about it, and that's the thing, and that's the way I kind of look at it is that we're all this angry because we care so much, and it's beautiful if you really think about it that we're all so angry because we do care about ourselves, our country, and everything. And it's just we gotta just reset it to where we look at it like that and go, okay, we all care. We disagree with how much we care or what we're, but okay, let's fix it then. We all love it. All right, this is an arranged marriage.
Figure a way to, much like any ADD kid, and let's face it, America, we're as ADD as it gets.
Yeah.
Much like any ADD kid, it's learning to find that passion and focus it.
Oh, absolutely. It's harnessing that energy and just but it's tough when everybody is trying to use our brain chemistry against us to direct it into other areas for their own gain. It's almost it's sociopathic almost, but it's but then it's like a part of me goes, I don't think they realize it. I don't. Maybe it's just like
they don't.
A part of me not wanting to think the worst case scenario. But I think all these people, Fox News, CNN, all these people, these politicians, I don't think they realize that's what they're doing. They don't see it for that way. They have the justification. And that's where I think we need to grow the show and this network to where I want to get these politicians to sit down with us. Let's have that conversation with both of them and imagine the power if we can get.
Do you know this is what you're doing?
Yeah. Do you know? And that's where I look at that's
actively aware.
Well, and that's like the power of what the conversations we're having is because they can sit there and go, well, there's this technique I teach people. It's called Dear Man. It's a way of talking where part of it, the D is describe what it is you're responding to, the facts. Okay. Hey, this is what I'm responding to. But the E, I'm expressing how I feel about it. That's an I statement. And all I'm saying is when you do X, this is how I feel. Well, I'm not saying you're right or wrong. I'm not saying you're making me do this. All I'm saying is, hey, when you do X, this is how I feel. Well, that's fucked up. All right, it might be, but it doesn't change the fact of, hey, this is how I feel. And I think if we have the ability to reflect back to these politicians and go, listen, as a clinician, once again, I'm calling out every psychologist and counselor that is listening to go, listen, this is what we need to reflect back to our congressman. No more of this bullshit about Trump being a narcissist. It's about, this is what I'm seeing in my practice. This is what I'm seeing in my community from a clinical perspective. This didn't exist 8 years ago or 12 years ago. It's a direct result, at least in my opinion, as a result, when I'm seeing what's going on in this country, I'm challenging you to do something different. If you care about your constituents, you cared about them when you went against the tobacco companies, when the overwhelming evidence was there, I challenge you to do something about it. We can't ignore what is going on in this country. I'm fucking sick of seeing all this addiction going on. I'm sick of so many people, no matter what we do, we're losing people. We have to look in the mirror, because I'm not going to lose my daughter. I'm sick of losing clients. I'm done.
Yeah.
We have to do it. We just have to.
Yeah, yeah. Like we said earlier, we have to get to a point where we're willing to sit back and we're willing to listen. We're willing to just not wait our turn to talk and just listen. What as we wrap this episode, what do you think our first steps to that are, as a society? What's starting with our children, I guess. What's the easiest thing to teach our children to do to start this? Because it really is an old dog scenario, you know. It is it's not that you can't teach old dogs new tricks. It's that it's really hard to teach old dogs new tricks. Yeah. You can teach them. It's just going to take like 8 times longer than it does to teach a puppy. So if we start with our puppies and we start with the ones that are like 5 and under, just as far as empathy and understanding and being able to listen and not being, as reactionary as we adults are sometimes. What can we do to stave some of that?
I think, one of the things that, it jumps out, because I always say, like, a lot of times you only get one thing to throw out there. The one thing I go back to, what my brain keeps going back to, and this is something I'm doing with my daughter, is that, one of the things my dad was really big with growing up is every time I asked him what he thought about something, it was always, well, read this, look at this, and I didn't really realize that, I think, till so many years later, but I don't even know if he meant to do it. I don't know, but it was about, he was teaching me, or what he taught me was, you form your own opinion. Think. I have my opinion, and of course my opinion is going to be very strongly influenced on yours, but he gave me the power to have my own opinion and learn how to think for myself, even if I came to a different opinion. And trust me, my mom, my dad, love them to death, my sister, when we agree a lot, but we've disagreed. Man, and I'm not gonna lie, I'm a dick when I disagree, but it was my opinion. My uncle, God rest his soul, man, he would attest to that. He's probably laughing right now hearing it. It's like,
right.
But it was my opinion, and that's scary for parents, because they have their beliefs and they want your children to believe what they believe, because that's what got them where they are, and it's safe, especially when we talk about faith and religion. But as my pastor talks about all the time, is that, he goes, I don't want you coming into my church and not using your brain. You have a brain. You think. I want you to ask questions. I want you to challenge things, because those are my favorite people. And that's how I came to being a lot more religious, was that I threw every question at him, and he loved it. He answered them. He talked to him about it. Pastor Matt Chandler did an interview on Vice, talking about what's happening and with Christianity and where it's going, and that's what he talked about. These very respectful leaders, people that I really look up to with faith, totally are like, no, you have to let people think. There's nothing wrong with that. So I think, to every parent with your children, let them think. It's scary, but allow them and give them the power of understanding what is information, that allegory of the cave. Make sure that it's not just one thing they're looking at. I had a client literally didn't realize that anyone can put anything on the internet. He had no idea. When I said, dude, you realize right now I can go on GoDaddy and make a website and say you are 5 feet tall, green, and live in Ireland, and I can put that up there. And he's like, no, I'm like, dude, yes. Kids do not understand that you have to teach them not only to think, but then what do you look at, and it be okay to look at things that might think differently, but you know what? It's going to be their opinion, and that's what we need to do. How do you get kids to not fall into peer pressure? Teach them how to think. teach them how to have their own opinion for themselves and go, well, that's fucked up. I don't believe in that. That's dumb. Well, everyone else is doing it. Oh, fuck that. I don't care. Like, I'm going to do my thing. Like, it's dumb.
Yeah.
But
Well, that doesn't make it any less stupid.
Yeah. And so, that's it in a nutshell. You know, if it's for kids, it's okay. Like, teach it, let them think. And then if for adults, Mike, what can people do? As I said earlier, call to action. Go to a family member, go to someone on Facebook, and one person who thinks differently than you. Ask them, hey, why is it that you believe that? And then what do you base that on? Okay, and what is one thing you would want me to understand about that belief? And if there was one compromise on that issue with me or the other side, what would that be? And end it there. You don't even have to add in your 2 cents. If they ask, you can do that. But don't feel the need to go, well, then this is what I believe. Leave it at that. Drop it. Go, okay, right on. Thank you. Thank them for giving that. Even if you radically disagree. Yeah, try that. I'm telling you, I am dying to know, like, and we'll make it, I guess, Chris, we'll make it, I guess, announcement when our first show will kind of be, but that's something I want to hit at with our first show is, what did you find out? I encourage everyone to write in. Once again, you can go on our Gray Matters Radio page on our Facebook. You can email me, Michael at graymattersradio.com. You can go on our Twitter, Gray Matters Radio, RDIO. But I want to hear what your experience was of it. Even if it was bad, I want to know why it was bad. If we're going to do this together, it begins now. This is that call to action. Let's, if we really care so much about this country, all right, we have to change the dialogue, whether or not we want to or not. Just like we would teach our children. You may not want to apologize. You may not want to do that, but you have to. Because if not...
I would say beyond our country. If we want to do something for humanity, if we want to make sure that we remain the fact that we are human, that this is how human beings treat each other, it'd be a beautiful thing. It'd be great.
That's what breaks my heart about with Anthony Bourdain. It's such a huge influence in my life, as a writer, as a person even. He said the whole point of his show was that, people may not give a crap what happens in Burma or whatever, but if through this show, people see that they're humans. And so when they're reading something random on the news about something happening in this part of the world, they're humanized all of a sudden. They have maybe some care, some concern. Maybe they stand up and go, hey, maybe that's not right. That's not cool. Maybe we should do something about it. And there's so much something to that, and it's just something that we just have to do.
Absolutely.
We just got to put our, we got to do it.
It is the absolute moral imperative of our age right now is to return to a point of humanity, to return to a point of understanding each other and understanding why we believe what we believe, and even getting back to a point of belief in anything but ourselves. It would be interesting to see what could be done.
It's the biggest. To me, this is the biggest challenge of our generation. I mean, really, I look at if we don't, it's not going to be good, and it's not too late. But we have to. There's no choice. We have to do this, no matter how badly it's going to suck. And no one else is going to do it but us.
No.
So we all got to step up and set the example, beginning with these conversations.
And with that in mind, tell everybody where they can go for counseling, where they can go to find your work, Michael, as well as where they can go to find Gray Matters.
So website, michaeldevinecounseling.com. You can also go to my more business consulting side, devinetalentconsulting.com. And then graymattersradio.com. We got some great articles up on there. And you can go to our Facebook page at Gray Matters Radio. Be paying close attention to our page. We'll be making an announcement with our first show coming up here rather shortly, which we're super stoked about. Chris is going to be helping me out here and helping me co-host for a while. And we're super excited. As you can kind of see, this is what we're going to be going over. I'm super excited that finding a partner like Chris and HC Universal that taking a chance on me. My wife, it's kind of funny. She's like, It's kind of weird, Mike. None of these guys have met you face to face, but yet somehow they're giving you a radio show.
I've met you face to face.
Skype.
Hello, Robot Chris. That's what you can tell. I've met Robot Chris. It's all good.
But it's just now I'm so excited, for this, and so just I'm humbled by just the opportunity to finally take all that frustration and do something about it, and finding the right network and the right partners to go and do
Absolutely.
it. And I think everyone I've talked to has been like, dude, no, this is awesome. So I want this to be interactive. I want people to get involved. I want to hear your voices. I want to get a call to action kind of going. This is going to be interactive. We're going to have normal people on the show talking, and it's going to be exciting. I can't wait to see where it kind of goes. It's gonna be a ride. I can't wait. And stay tuned. So we'll have an announcement very shortly with our first show, and it's gonna be awesome. So I can't wait.
Heck yeah, absolutely. And while you're online checking out the awesome work of Michael Devine as well as Gray Matters Radio, stop on by the Dudes and Beer podcast, dudesandbeer.com. You can also check us out on the HC Universal Network. All kinds of great shows there. Until next time, everybody, remember, if you can't be good at it. We'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Dudes and Beer podcast. To listen to our audio streams or chat with us live, download the official Dudes and Beer app for Android and iDevices, available on Google Play and iTunes markets. For more episodes, content, and information, visit us online at dudesandbeer.com. You can also find our episodes on Breach.tv, iHeartRadio, Spreaker, SoundCloud, iTunes, YouTube, Stitcher, or your favorite podcast service. Dudes and Beer is a proud member of the HC Universal Network family of podcasts. For more about our sponsors and other podcasts on this network, visit hcuniversalnetwork.com. Thanks for listening, everybody, and until next time, drink responsibly.